I'd like to offer each of you a very, very special welcome to Houston Community College Southeast. I'm Irene Porcarello, president here at Southeast for the past 5 years. Although I'm a Houstonian, I'm an East Ender, born, reared, and raised, I always like to say that, in the East End of Houston, Ship Channel area. And my parents came here in the 1900s when there was little or no land, and they had to literally work the land and the soil to make the riches of it. And with that, that is what the celebration is today. Someone said last week at one of our presentations, it is about celebrating the tradition, but also the importance of bringing tradition to past, to present, and to future. We must not forget our roots. We must not forget the tradition and the customs. That is so important.
Just hit home and it says, I'm on the right pathway. Probably the mid-90s, you had a lot of the Bloods and the Cribs on TV, and I'm saying, I don't like that image. I was being projected of African-American males. I said, project the image of me. I'm a middle management, functional, taking care of my family. Kids in the inner city who look like me need to see folks like me to aspire to. And so I was putting in rebuttal to the newspaper and writing, and nothing happened. I said, well, what am I passionate about? What really moves me? My art. And I said, right then and there, I woke up and I said, I'm a paint with passion and purpose. And Justice was the first piece that I did that really set me on my way on the purpose behind my painting. So I wanted to project an African-American male who was intelligent, articulate, educated, comfortable, and also to show that, that in American system, you could rise and elevate at the Supreme Court level, be a Thurgood Marshall, let alone that he was anchored in the Word. His humility came in the Word. Then we move forward and we have Martin Luther King with the Civil Rights Movement. And then I was at the Congressional Black Caucus in Washington, D.C., and a few of my friends and colleagues decided to do this pictorial documentation of civil rights. So I didn't have much time, so in summation, how do I tell that story, the civil rights and the struggle? So I'm a man, equal rights for all, one man, one vote. And so that was my summation, and everybody from the Congressional Black Caucus was coming over to me and said, wow, this is powerful. And I had the aha moment. The reason why we're here is because of American slavery. But cup half full versus half empty. Black doctors, black lawyers, black scientists, educators. For whatever reasons, that's what came out of it. So I wanted to project imagery that was strong, that showed the strength and the character, separated by language and geography. We found a way to be constructive and contributory to society. So you see our allegiance to country with the Buffalo Soldiers, soldier of the North, soldier of the South, and the black cowboy. Then, during that time of Reconstruction, Eric Beecher Stowe had written Uncle Tom's Cabin to waken up the country to the ills of slavery. The Great Emancipator. These are two current pieces that I added to my exhibition. It's a continuous exhibition that continues to grow. But this significant piece here is built on our backs. The pain, sweat, and tears, the blood that was shed. Kings of Africa that participated in slavery. Juxtaposed against the slave is the Statue of Liberty. In a capitalistic society, built on our backs was free labor. The first actual transaction for the slave by the Dutch in 1619 for sugar. You have the founder of America, George Washington, the great emancipator, Abraham Lincoln. You have the different bill notes from the countries that participated in the global commerce of slavery. I used to always say the four major commodities, but the fifth one was the chattel, was actually the human capital that was used in slavery. That they formed and used Africans as chattel for free labor. But through it all, how do you rise above that? How do you get out there? So there was a sacrifice to learn, and I put this functional family unit together because this is how it's supposed to impose and be implied. So that sort of gives you that element over here. Then I incorporated the quote, my old stories, so many stories, a tapestry of rich cultural heritage, chain, whip, and gun. And it's always that sacrifice, that strength and spirit. So I had him, although he's broken physically, he's showing his strength to persevere and rise above it. Three similar pieces, taken, freedom lost, betrayed. And then on the auction block, the 15 official slave states plus the District of Columbia that participated in slavery. We talked about, the making of a slave with Willie Lynch, and we expounded on that earlier. But I want to show some facts and old copies that slavery actually existed, so these were actual documents that I made copies of. Then the will to be free. Although I'm physically chained and shackled, my mind is still free and liberated to rise above. Keep my semblance of humanity and being a human being. Right here, this is Free at Last, representing Juneteenth. Hand over heart allegiance to country, tear in eye, 1865. Our history continues to be woven. Here's the good book, the Functional Family Unit, the proclamation, Emancipation Proclamation embedded to the house. Standing vigilant of the Buffalo Soldiers, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, Frederick Douglass, the great orator, abolitionist, right here celebrating Juneteenth. The strength and character of ourselves and our culture is strong as an oak tree. The roots run deep. We communicated from plantation to plantation by the drum. You see Harriet Tubman this way north, and then you see the state of Texas embedded into this piece here. Franklin Baptist Church was a church in Savannah, Georgia, that was used for an underground railroad to find sanctuary and freedom. And so his last step toward freedom. And that speaks also to our religious strength and character in the Lord to rise above it. The other question is, am I free? So it's a continuation that we still fight for our liberties and fight against inequalities. The colored man is my universal image. It's a primordial man from red, blue, and yellow. Everything is derived from. On that day, this is Rosa Parks. Pain, sweat, blood, and tears, kind of issue with black and white at the time, were fighting for civil liberties. This piece is on that day. This is where she lived, and this is why I worked in partnership with the Rosa Parks Museum. We actually went to where she lived at, and I painted on location. We had the kids from E.D. Nixon Elementary come out there and speak on behalf of Rosa Parks. So that day, she decided to sit and not stand and change the course of American history. And then family legacy. At the end, this is what we see, the greatness of America, having that opportunity, land of opportunity. I just had to group these two together because I thought this was just so strong. This way north, and how about that? Here's north, here's where we at. This majestic individual became president of the United States, representing the different ethnic and cultural groups in the continent of the United States, as well as representing the free world of color. I just thought this was so appropriate, and we were talking about having high aspirations. We had came out of a fundraising project with a few artists here in Houston, and I had did a couple of President Obama pieces prior to it, and I hadn't yet really just settled on the piece. And so when I did, it just hit me, and I constructed this piece, and my target was the White House. A few months, but that's okay. I shot for the stars. I landed at the French Embassy the day before the inauguration, the first time, as President of the United States. And I traveled with this piece, and hopefully at some point in time, I'll get a couple of pieces placed in the Smithsonian to speak to our contribution to American history and world history. Also, the importance of visual literacy. We talk about science, technology, engineering, math. Science, technology, engineering, art, and math. It's so critically important because we can teach and learn through this visual medium. I get a chance to speak my own kind of way through art. It's how I speak. When I want to speak multiple languages, I paint. And so there you have it.
You have to art.
Right. Yeah. And it is. I mean that's been one of the discussions at the federal level to have that inclusion.
Daddy, look at how machine. Oh, it's Obama.
That's for you. Yeah, you can have that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's a superstar. Right there. Bye.